So a little over a week ago, I did a review of Sinners, and it was dry. Because as a person who is just in a different space spiritually, sometimes I just get disenchanted by storytelling in mainstream. I feel like we are not telling stories that reflect the nuance, the layered nuance of the world that we live in now. Not saying that there always has to be a trans person or there always has to be a non-binary person. Because most times y'all pick a pick-me to play the part, and they say representation matters, but it needs to be authentic representation. I just think that society is more complex, and I get really, really frustrated when we constantly focus on the same facets of society, race, and race, and more race. Took a couple of notes from Sinners, and I don't really know the names of the characters like that, so if you watch the movie, you'll be able to follow. Last year, oddly enough, I kept seeing dead snakes. Like, I saw like 3 dead snakes last year. 2 of them I buried, and I'm gonna show a clip of that right here.
Give me the apple, the banana, and the lemon.
Big old banana.
Give me get the small snake.
Ooh,
The small one first.
That look like a stick.
Yeah, but it's a baby snake. Okay, let's do the big one now. I know. Come put it in the ground and stop playing with it. Come on. Oh my.
okay.
Okay. All right, we're going to say some words over the snakes before we put them in the ground.
Okay.
Thank you, God Goddess. Back to the earth.
Thank you, God Goddess.
For you. Can you get out the camera, please? And act like a wizard. Thank you for doing the snake. Okay, so now we're getting ready to cover it back up, cover it up. There's a worm right there.
One of them was like completely dried out. I don't know if it was the shedding or if it was actually the snake, but I think it was actually the snake because the eyes were intact and everything, and it was dried out. So I kept it on my altar for a little while to try to help me overcome my fear of snakes. But after that, I just kept seeing dead snakes, and so when I saw one of the snakes, I was moved to bury it, and I always have like my God Goddess children to help me to bury things. We don't bury everything because we know the vultures need to eat some things, but I try to teach them to, care for life, and to, because I know I would want to have a proper burial, so I try to teach them the importance of giving things a proper burial. Like, my sister breeds Rottweilers, and so when puppies don't make it, we typically bury the puppies. So last year we buried a snake, and this is the first time because I buried birds, possums, but never a snake. And so this year is the year of the snake. And so it was just interesting that the year of the snake was coming, and last year I kept seeing snakes. And it tied into the movie, because at the beginning of the movie they killed a snake. And that got me to thinking, like, what was the symbolism of killing that snake? Because we know that the snake in patriarchal, one-sided religion represents the serpent that was trying to seduce Adam. But when we know the whole story about what the Gnostics taught, and just other versions of the story, we know that Sophia was the serpent, and Sophia is the divine feminine, the Kundalini. I really have questions about, why did he have to kill the snake? Like, why couldn't he have just grabbed the snake by the head and threw it in the woods? Like, why was it necessary to kill the snake? But then someone said that the snake like formed this kind of symbol of eternity, or incarnate, or of going on. I can't remember what the symbol meant, but there was some symbolism in how the snake shaped when it died. One of the things that was obvious right off is that the irony that a lot of Christians were saying that they didn't want to go and see the movie because it was demonic, but they were showing you how the religion that we've been given pretty much has the same agenda of the vampires, who I looked at as programming. I looked at them as programmers. Like, they give you a virus. They download a virus into you with a bite that reprograms you to be disconnected from your ancestors, to be disconnected from your memory of self, to be uncomfortable around your people. Like, for example, when they caught the guy with his drawers down peeing, and they got him, and when he came up to the door and he asked could he come in, and they were like, you've been coming in and out the whole night. And he was like, no, that's rude, you know. And so, like, looking at that on a deeper level, not just the surface value, some of us have been so indoctrinated that we ain't messing with people who don't practice respectability politics. He no longer felt comfortable because he had been reprogrammed. So he didn't even feel comfortable around his tribe anymore, because he had been reprogrammed by the programmers through the virus of the bite. And the funny thing is, a lot of us don't realize that we have been reprogrammed. A lot of us don't realize that we have already invited them in. Like, you don't have to literally open your door and invite someone in. Like, when you subscribe to certain content, when you subscribe to things that are poisonous to your spirit, and things that get you to believe other things about who you are, then you're inviting it in. Like for example, the prayer. What that said to me was, when he tried to pray the prayer to protect him, and the prayer didn't protect him, because your oppressor is not going to give you an incantation that is going to liberate you. Like, why would they do that? They're not going to give you, it's not going to give you a spell that's going to help to liberate you. But what it will do is help to lull you into a space of even being more complacent. Like, lull you into complacency, lull you into acceptance. So really, the prayer is like an incantation that you speak over yourself to lull you deeper into the psychosis of aligning with this reality. One of the questions that I had was in the juke joint, when he started singing and they kept reiterating the fact that his gift had the power to draw evil. It had the power to heal, but also to draw evil. And that was the moment in which they were free. And my thing is, I wonder why his music didn't draw powerful enough spirits to be the polarity to show up, because we did see some ancestors in the room dancing of past, present, and future. We saw ancestors of all kinds, and I thought that was interesting because that's a part of my practice. I say it at the end of the video. We honor the ancestors who've come, the ancestors who are here, and the ancestors who will come. So this is something that we do in Laylim Laylar. But what I was curious about was if his music had the power to summon chaotic or wicked forces, why did not it also have the power to summon divine forces that could intercede on his behalf in the same way that these beings were showing up? And what came up for me was the intentions behind the event, like trying to get this money. Everybody was, entertaining different spirits that were probably lowering their vibrations. And so, yeah, that was something that had me curious. Also, the conversation about the wooden nickels, like not accepting the wooden nickels, like not accepting, not wanting to accept that money from those people. And I think that the conflict between the twins spoke to the conflict that really exists between black people. It's like one twin didn't want white people at the event, but definitely wanted white people money. Did not want white people at the event, did not want any white people in there, but definitely wanted white people money. And so that's definitely something to explore. And I think one of the twins was bisexual, because didn't he say that he was selling his cookies in one town and he didn't take no? So we kind of just grazed over that. I never really hear anybody talk about that in the feedback. But, I just thought it was interesting that one twin wanted the money, wanted white people money, but did not want white people around. As far as the racially ambiguous lady who was the lead, it was interesting how her privilege became what made her a liability. Like, she was so confident in herself that she went out there and she talked to those people, and she ended up becoming a liability, and they let her right in. Like, she went out there and got reprogrammed, and they didn't even suspect her. She came in like a Trojan horse, walk right in, So I thought that I definitely thought that was interesting as well. I think that the young man's musical gifts prove that healing is within you, because making music was healing for him. And so it was a reminder that heaven, the kingdom, the queendom, or the queendom of heaven is within you. And so I thought that was a valid point to bring up as well. And there's this one moment where one of the lead women in the movie says, if I get bit by one of those things, make sure you kill me before I turn. And that's just so powerful because a lot of us have turned, and we don't even realize it. It's interesting because this film shows how oligarchs in the patriarchy use entertainers in the music industry to summon entities that are like-minded and will help to reinforce their agenda, or will help to strengthen the impact of their agenda. So he was like, he wanted him to use his music and use his stories to summon more of these beings who feed off of trauma porn. And so that was very interesting as well. Another thing that was interesting was how, literally, if you think about it, the Asian woman, she didn't even need to be turned. Like, the grief of losing her husband and the grief and the fear of losing her daughter made her be willing to risk all the black people in there. Like, she risked all of them, you know, for the sake of stopping them before they got to her child. And so she ultimately turned on everybody, simply to save her own. And the unfortunate part about that is, I personally don't believe that there's an Asian source in the afterlife, or Caucasian source, a black source, a Hispanic source. I think there's one source. We're all connected. And so the fact that some of us get so bogged down in this dream sequence that we will betray one another because we've been so programmed to just think that we need to preserve those beings that look exactly like us. I think a lot of those beings were conscious of what they had become. I don't know if it was something about being in that water. I don't know if it was the connection to the water, because, you know, water is in many ways source. And so I don't know if it was being in the water, but they could have ran. Like, they didn't have to be exposed to the sunlight. Like, they could have ran in the woods and hid, but they stayed there and wanted to be free. Like, they didn't have to die with him. They stayed because they wanted to be free, because we noticed that the twin and the racially ambiguous lead, they lived. And it was crazy because they were able to be together. Like becoming vampires created for them a world where they could be together and not fear retaliation, not fear violence. Like, they had to totally submit to the programming. They had to totally become, for lack of a better word, the problem. And then they were able to be together. And it's so interesting because in the end, when the brother takes off the Gree bag, and you know, now he's over this reality, because he was, you know, about the money at first, and he wanted to make the money, and, you know, he was disappointed because, you know, he was carrying the disappointment of not being able to live in this community where it was the proper black people, and they wouldn't accept him because they thought that them two was gonna be like their daddy, which is crazy. Like, this literally happens in society. Like, black people will abandon their own because they perceive them to be a threat to them living proper, you know. And so that was just interesting. Like, I'm glad that they flushed that out and brought that out really quick. They didn't stay on it, but they did bring it up, and they, you know, let us know that there was a place where black people were thriving. And it stands to reason that could that be the karma as to why some of these black cities were vulnerable to be bombed or to have certain things happen to them, because maybe that was their karma, because behind the scenes they were telling certain black people, hey, you can't come live here because of some stuff your daddy did or some stuff that your mama did. And so I thought that was interesting as well. But when he took off the Gree bag and he got ready to go and be with his love, it gave me very much the divine feminine and the divine masculine and their offspring. And what was so beautiful is that I think that everything starts from darkness or the deep or the void. And she had that beautiful chocolate skin, and he's of a darker hue. And so they went to go and be in this place where they were actually free, where they were actually not bound by the constraints of society. He had, you know, he silenced his tempter with gunshots, and he went to go and be with her, and I just felt that gave me very much As Above, So Below, because his brother was still existing in the below realm, you know, and his brother had literally become a monster, quote unquote, to be with his love. And so it kind of gives you like, it kind of gave you like spiritually like some yin and yang energy, because even before the twin that became a vampire, he was connecting with the vampires. Like, he was connecting with the programming. And it's so crazy because he was also the twin that wanted to honor Black people and wanted to value their currency, their money. He was in touch with the world. And so it made sense that he was able to move powerfully through the world. He just connected with the world in ways that his brother didn't. His brother wanted power, but ultimately, I think the greatest power was his willingness to sacrifice. Because in the end, ultimately, he sacrificed himself so that he could avenge everyone and he could be reunited with his love. And they could have the opportunity to live in a world unlike this one. Another thing I want to bring up before I wrap this video up is how explicit the dialogue was around the commodification of white passing flesh. She was so valuable that they were scared for her to be around them. Like, she had Black blood in her and could have identified as Black, but because she looked it white, she made it dangerous for people. She made it dangerous for them to be together. She brought potential danger to all of the beings that were in the club. Like, that really speaks to the commodification of white flesh and the commodification of white passing flesh. Like that, like that right there. And we confuse that commodification. Well, I think they often confuse the commodification of their being because their flesh is useful to the agenda of this reality. They confuse the commodification of their flesh with privilege. It's like a prize chicken or a prize pig. All year long, you're going to treat that pig good. You're going to treat that chicken good. You're going to feed it well because you want it to look nice and healthy and big for when you take it for show. But after the show is over, what typically happens to that chicken or that pig? Oh, yeah, I'm glad that I looked at the movie again. I still don't understand about the snake. It was obvious that the preacher was pretty much a part of the problem, you know, from the beginning of the film. And I'm glad that he charted his own path. I'm glad that he made his own way. And I'm glad that he found his own balance somewhere in the middle. Like, was able to find a gray area. All in all, looking at it again, watching it again, it was a very good movie. And I'm glad that it inspires us to go back to reconnect with ourselves, you know, because when you get infected with that programming, you tend to forget who you are. I like how, you know, she was explaining that. She said they get trapped in the soul gets trapped in the body, but you get cut off from your ancestors. You get cut off to to all of that. You get cut off from that. You can't go outside of that. You're stuck in that body. And it really just speaks to being constantly recycled and reincarnated into this reality and not being able to ascend and rejoin with the ancestors. So I'm really thankful. Like, it broke it down. It made it scary so it could be entertaining. It embellished it so, you know, it would be interesting. But if you can read between the lines, it's literally a real life movie. It's just they fictionize the truth to make it interesting. So great movie. Definitely.